you out of the rhythm you'd have been in?
I mean, I just felt like I was short on shots. I couldn't hit anything today. And some days you're gonna have those types of days when it goes like that. I mean, you got to give credit to them. They played good defense and made all their free throws. They made shots. They competed. And just credit to them. But I felt like I took what the defense gave me. I just missed shots, and I was short on a lot of them. I was right on, but a few just fell short.
And with that, I mean, you played a lot of minutes. Josh has played a lot of minutes. I mean, now that you've gotten through those 3 games, how do you think the legs have reacted, and how do you keep them churning moving forward?
Whether tired or not, it doesn't matter. We're playing for a lot. This was our last game of February. I've played in March before. I understand what it takes. I mean, at this time, everybody around the country's legs are tired just from the duration of the season. And I'll never use it as an excuse, no matter how I feel. But yeah, like I said, I was just short on some things, and go home, ice bath, and prepare for Indiana Tuesday.
Next question is from Lindsay Huddleston.
Hey, Aaron. Many of us who are preparing to start their work week can't relate to a week that you've been through, the emotional roller coaster. Can you kind of take us through the emotional part of the highs and the lows, and just kind of give us an idea what that feeling is like?
Well, I think that's where we've grew the most. I think this through so many lows and lows throughout the season, and maybe a couple highs throughout this past week, we've tried to keep an even keel attitude and just push to think about it one day at a time. Approach it with that mindset, like I've been saying, and today just the ball didn't bounce our way, and then that's going to happen. And I'm not going to go home and pout about it. I'm not going to go home and put my head down. I'm going to prepare for the next opportunity we have on Tuesday, because that's what's necessary. You can't. Nobody's ever went in the past and changed anything. So I'm certainly not going to dwell on it now. But I mean, we lost. It is what it is. We have to fight Tuesday.
Real quick follow up. A loss is never good. It's never something you want to accept. But does it feel a little different since winning those other games and losing now compared to loss after loss after loss?
Maybe just winning the past couple, have been good for us in the sense of, not only our record, but just the total camaraderie of the team, the connectedness that we've had. But we have to keep that even keeled attitude and knowing that anybody can beat us and anybody can be beat on any given day. The Big Ten is too good to go in anywhere and just think you're going to walk in and put your shoes on and beat anybody. So we have to approach every day with that mindset and try to win the day.
Great. Thank you.
We'll have 2 more for Aaron before moving on. We'll go to Matt Charbonneau and then Brendan Quinn. Matt?
Aaron, it seemed defensively Maryland really was making it tough on you guys today, settling for a lot of jumpers and whatnot, especially earlier. How difficult was it, and how much do you think today was about the way they played you defensively?
I mean, teams have done that before, and we have some guys on our team that can shoot the ball. Guys just missed shots today. A lot of people were short, never left or right. It was a rare left or right miss. A lot of guys were just short, and you can point that to a lot of things. The previous games are just, are we going to play hard enough? Are we going to do the right things we have to do to win? Are we going to, use that as an excuse? Or are we just going to be able to play harder than that and accept it and just play through it? And that's something that, the ball didn't bounce our way today, but, Tuesday we get another opportunity.
Thanks.
All right, we'll wrap for Aaron with Brendan Quinn.
Hey, Aaron. The big difference today was that 11-0 start that Maryland had. You guys just not able to make up that difference. What can you kind of go back to those opening 4 or 5 minutes, and do you think it was just a matter of missing shots, or were you matching their energy? What do you think was going on there?
That was the game right there to me. They came out and hit shots early. They looked ready to play, and a couple of those were my mistakes, and a couple of those that I just, as a leader, I can't do, and I took responsibility for that. I continue, I always will, and that's something that that can't happen. We want to do what our goals are.
Gotcha. Thanks, man.
All right, Aaron, that's all we have for you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Kara, if you can back the camera up a little bit so we can get the whole face in frame, that would be great.
Some volume issues. I'm just trying to.
Yeah, if you can turn up the speakers, that would be good too.
Yeah. Matt, can you talk really quick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Much
Okay.
better.
Perfect.
Okay, I'll push it back for Josh.
All right, we got Josh Langford. We just got time for a couple of questions for Josh before we get to Coach. We'll start with Kyle Austin and then go to Chris Solari.
Josh, that opening 5 minutes, they go up 11-0. What were the biggest keys in that stretch, and how important was that for the rest of the game?
I mean, it was definitely important, especially when even though it's not fans, you're still playing an away game in the Big Ten, and it's kind of hard to claw back, when the team get up big like that. And so we had a lot of mental mistakes defensively that we can't have, and even me personally, I had a few myself. And the margin of error is really small right now, so we have to be really focused and locked in as a unit.
Next one, we'll go to Chris Solari.
Hey, Josh, you guys have played some physical defense here the last couple of weeks, but it seemed to come back and get you. I think they went 23 at 24 at the line. I guess what was the difference maybe defensively for you guys, both in getting the fouls and also the perimeter, especially in the first half?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely different. You look at the past few games we played, a lot of different scouts, so this team was more or less, out wide, slips, flares, definitely was different from the last game. So, we had to make the adjustment, but we didn't make that adjustment good enough. We didn't make a good enough adjustment. And so that's just what it is.
We have time for one more for Josh. We're going to go with Jennifer Hammond at Fox 2.
Hey, Josh, you mentioned that the margin for error is really slim right now. How do you guys kind of establish that desperation without playing like a team that's desperate and makes some of those types of errors here down the stretch, down this week?
What the biggest thing is to, really recognize where we're at, realize that this is the reality of it, but at the same time, understand that we have to go out there and just focus on what we can control. And a lot of times, if you go out there and thinking about, what's at line, on the line or at stake, it kind of hinders you as a player. It's almost like, paralysis by analysis. So we just have to go out there and control what we can control and then let the chips fall where they may.
All right, Josh, I know you got a long trip back, so thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we'll be joined by Coach Izzo here in just a second. All right, Coach, you're on mute there. If you can take that off. There you go. There you go. All right, Coach, if you want to start us off with an opening thought.
Yeah, I'm disappointed because I felt like, write it however you want it, but I mean, that team gets 7 days off and we get these games the way we've had. And it was a factor. They played good. They're a 68% free throw shooting team. They hit 24, 25. And the only thing that bothered me was I wouldn't have minded as after the game went on, we dragged down, but when the game started, we dragged down. I mean, we got down 11-0, and really that's the way the game stayed. It wasn't an 18-point game, and it wasn't a 4-point game or whatever we got it down to. It was an 8, 9, 10-point game the whole way, and that's the way it started. And that was disappointing because there was no excuse. We gave up some threes. And they haven't been, a couple of those guys weren't shooting as good from the three, and they did. And the free throw line was a joke. I mean, we hit, one guy was 48% and hit 2. And we missed a bunch of free throws. We missed some front ends of 1-and-1. And, we tried to come back a couple times, but two best players struggled. They struggled because I played them 40 minutes and 38 minutes. And I've tried to beat the hell out of them. And that is my fault, but I had to do what I had to do. And then we had a couple guys that rose up a little bit. I thought Malik and Joey, played very well, considering, and, we had some strange lineups in there, but Rocket got in foul trouble and he didn't play that good. And when he got in foul trouble, I tried the freshman, but ended up putting Josh there. And now we have our whole lineup's changed. And it was just disappointing that we started out like we did. Also disappointing that we finished like we did, because it looks like a blowout, but who knows? If they think the net is the thing to do and it makes a difference, I so disagree with that. But hey, we didn't do our job. We didn't win the game. Goals haven't changed. Situation I talked to my guys privately about 6 games ago hasn't changed one bit. And we got to go home and beat Indiana, and that's what we're going to try to do.
First question comes from Stoney.
Yeah, Coach, how much of the game was their good defense interior, or you guys settling and us missing jumpers?
Yeah, I thought we settled, and I didn't think we moved the ball, and I didn't think we moved bodies. I mean, to me, that was the worst first 6 minutes that we played all year. In a couple of years. I mean, I just thought we were standing around. Was it because we were, I don't know why. Then we started moving the ball around, but we settled for threes a little bit too much. And Aaron's were right on. Josh's were pretty much on. They were just short. And that was the story of the night. And, but I thought they did a good job. I think you got to give them credit. They made free throws. They made threes. I'll try to keep where you can see my head. I don't know why. I don't really enjoy seeing my head either. So I don't know why. I'll do whatever I got to do for you guys. But I was just disappointed in that start. And players, Josh and Aaron gave me everything they could. I thought Joey and Malik did, and I thought some other guys just didn't play as well as I was hoping they'd play.
Next, we'll go to Chris Solari.
Hey, Tom, you mentioned that about beating the hell out of Josh and Aaron. I saw you gave him a little bit of rest towards the end. I mean, do you at this point, is it just a mind over matter thing for these guys down the stretch with these games coming up? Or how do you deal with that potential for fatigue?
Well, it's not mind over matter. It's real. I mean, I don't know. Did Maryland play last Saturday or Sunday? Sunday, and get a couple days off, and I thought they played good. I've been for this play every game, so there's no excuse on it, but there's a reality to it. And so the reality is we were in 2 of the toughest games ever, and I think it took something out of those guys. We tried to really dummy down what we did the other day. The best we could, but it was the other hard thing is when you have a 1 or 2 day prep for a team you haven't played all year, it'll be a little easier for Indiana. A 1 day prep, if we get home at a decent time tonight, it'll be a little easier because we've already played them. But when you have, we're going to have a 1 day prep for Michigan. We have a 1 day prep or 2 day prep for Maryland. It was really 1 day because we couldn't do anything one of the days. That's hard. So it isn't mind over matter. They gave me everything they could give me. It's the reality of what we're going through. And, we got to get them freshened up somehow because they got still a lot to play for, if you ask me.
Next, we'll go to Lindsay Huddleston.
Hey, Tom, talk about playing from behind. I know it's never by design, but you've had some success these last few games playing from behind. But can you talk about the fine line between playing from behind and having success representing a never quit attitude, but also that we can turn it on when we need to attitude?
Yeah, it was funny because I didn't think even when we cut the lead to, what was the least we were down? 4 or 5? 5? When we cut it to 5, Aaron tried to make a big play, but it was 1-on-4. And then, he missed the shot and then they get a layup on the other end. That was the lack of having a true point guard in there. And we were trying to organize something and it didn't get organized. And again, nobody's fault as far as those guys go. But I don't think they tried to turn it on. I think that we got ambushed at the beginning. You know, they made their threes, they made free throws. There was a time I think they had made 4 threes and 6 free throws or something. And this is not the greatest free throw shooting team. So, and then in that same time, we had missed a couple front ends of a 1-and-1. And, you know, you can't do that if you're us. We're not that talented right now or that good to be able to do that. So, you know, that we can work on, but there's no excuse for the start. I give them some credit, but just standing around and that, you know, if that would happen in the second half, you know, I would have felt a little different about it, but it really ticked me off the way we started out because that's the way the game went. You know, the game might as well ended 3 minutes into the game. It was really the same as it was the end of the game.
Next question will go to Rico Cooney.
Hey, Tom, I think I know and understand how you feel about the possibility of fatigue and tired because Aaron talked about just shots were short and everything, but I'm going to switch up a little bit. Talk about, I guess, Joey kind of working himself back into being Joey these last few games.
God, positive question. Not that you guys have been negative. I'm just kidding you. I really felt good about Joey. He not only hit some threes, if he had made those 2 free throws, he would have had 13 or 15 points. He actually played more physical inside. He gets 8 rebounds. He guarded people a little better. I think that's a good way to put it. He's working himself out of some things. Nothing's been easy through all this, but that was a very encouraging. And I do think Malik played a little better. You know, the guy that got tired so early and we never put him back in was Julius. He was just out of it after like 4 minutes. And I don't know for what reason, but because he's a great kid. I always have worried about his conditioning some, but and that's the problem, you know. Some guys need more conditioning, some guys need less at this time of year. And if you don't practice hard, you get less. But I thought Joey was one of the most encouraging parts of our day, and I thought Malik was second in there.
Thanks, Coach.
Next, we'll go to Brendan Quinn.
There were some spots this game, key possessions, key moments where I'm guessing shot selection probably wasn't what you were looking for. Maybe too early in the shot clock, not the best look. Is that mental thing? Was it frustration? Was it coming from behind? Where do you kind of?
Well, I think lack of, sometimes we didn't have a real point guard in there, and that was some of it. We were trying to run some things with so many bizarre lineups in there at times, especially we haven't played much with both Malik and Joey, and you know, we tried some different things, and because we were not moving so well. But you're right, when we cut it down to 5 or 6 or 7, I thought we took some ill-advised shots early in the shot clock. And they weren't awful shots. They were shots that we weren't making all day. And I wanted to get to the hole. I thought a couple times we tried to and just either didn't get the call or didn't get the bucket. And but yeah, it was that's too many threes for us to take, especially the way we were shooting them. And then we tried to play catch up at the end. So I would agree with your assessment of that. I thought there were some average shots, and for the most part, I mean, one thing about Aaron, you know, even though he's our leading scorer, he does not force many shots. And today, in fact, any, if there's one thing, you know, Josh will take a few, but you know, Josh took a few today that were right there, and it reminded me of his first 3 games back. You know, Iowa, Ohio State, and Rutgers. He was falling a little bit, and they were right on, just short. And I'm not sure it was fatigue. I think maybe he couldn't get, maybe it was he just couldn't get the lift, so couldn't jump over a guy. So a lot of his shots, he was falling backwards. And if you remember back to that big shot against Ohio State late in the game, he just pulled up, straight down. So I think I don't know if that was fatigue, you have to ask those guys. I even hate using the word, but I can't think of any time in my career where I played this many games and this many big games and this many kind of games in such a short period of time.
All right, we have two final questions. We'll start with Matt Charbonneau and wrap up with Wojo.
I know you don't want to make the mistakes or the things you do today and just not learn from them, but is there anything to be said for with this quick turnaround of kind of saying taking this game today and just kind of throwing it out and moving forward, kind of getting past it quicker than maybe if you had 3-4 days in between games?
I will do that now. To be honest with you, I took a little more time in the locker room because I was disappointed in that beginning. And I think, you got to learn from that stuff. But you're right. It's not like we're going to go home and watch any film on this game because we just don't have time to. But that's the other negative of schedules like this. I guess I have respect for the NBA because you don't get a chance to correct and get the AAU stuff out of their brain on some of the shots and some of the situations. So, yeah, I mean, is there any advantage? There's never an advantage to having 1-day preps. Never. I mean, that was a rule in this league for every year that I've been in it. But it's not anybody's fault either. It's not the Big Ten's fault. It's COVID's fault. So we should all gang up on COVID and blame them. It was nobody's fault. I probably could have opted out of some games, but I didn't want to. My guys wanted to play every game they could play, and so we got to deal with it, and we will deal with it, and we're going to be ready to play Tuesday. I promise you. There'll be no 11-0 start on Tuesday.
We'll wrap up with Bob Wojnarowski.
Hey, Tom, you've been very consistent and persistent talking about you don't want the tournament streak to weigh on players and just don't worry about that. But sometimes when the elephant is in the room, it's there no matter what. Do you think beyond the fatigue that is a pressure that no matter what you say, they feel it a little bit or no?
Bob, I don't think so because I'm one thing I'm decent at. There's only about 2 or 3 things. But one of them is I dress the elephants in the room. I really do. And there's probably 2 elephants in my rooms right now. It's not just one. There's a couple different elephants in that room. And we talked about it. We talked about it 6 games ago. I gave them some scenarios. I did some things behind closed doors that, just because I think I understood. But Twitter is a whole nother animal. I mean, hell, I should quit tomorrow if my buddies tell me what's on Twitter. And, but I can take it at my age. I don't know if they can. That's a very good question. But I told them, records are made to be broken. Streaks are made to end. That can't be what we're playing for. What we're playing for is to get our seniors into the NCAA tournament. What we're playing for is to get better each and every game. If that sounds like coach talk, it's not. I really believe that. I really mean that. I think, hell, we had the streak of, every senior played in it. And one of my best teams didn't make it that year, with Gary Harris and them. I still am upset about that, but I'm upset for Gary. I'm upset for AP. I'm upset for Keith Appling. I'm not upset for me. And so I hope those guys take this kind of stuff, that it means something to them. I don't want them to think about the program. There's too much weight on there. This has been the most bizarre year ever. And that wouldn't be fair to them. So is it weighing on them? I don't know. You should ask them. I don't think so. I really don't, because we've talked about it more than a little, but yet I haven't harped on it every day. I addressed the elephant in the room. I did it about 3 years ago at Nebraska, dressed the elephant in the room. I'm not a good guy for holding anything back. And so I did talk to him about it. And I was honest with him. I was real with him, which this day and age, nobody's real with anybody. And they understand. Our thing hasn't changed a bit as far as what I think we have to do to get into that tournament. And I am a little upset about the net thing, because everybody keeps bringing up the net thing. So instead of beating Notre Dame by 28, we beat them by 10 because I put subs in. I thought we got rid of that crap back when Oklahoma was beating people 88-0, you know. I'm never gonna run up scores or do that stuff, get guys fired. That would be my only thing. And I think we're as good as a lot of teams. I don't think we're a lot better than some teams. I think we dug ourselves a hole. I look back on that Purdue game. We said it then, that could haunt us. It could, but we still have 3 opportunities ahead of us. We don't have to win every game. We got to win some games. You can predict. What's the name can predict? Joe Lenardi. John Doe can predict. If anybody can predict what's going to happen in this pandemic year, and who says that somebody's not going down and doesn't even get to play in the thing, you know? So we're just going to keep battling. And trust me when I say this, we played after the bad start. We hung in there. We cut it back. Guys were, you know, real positive about what we could do. And then we, you know, that last run, we cut it to 5 and took a couple of bad shots, and, you know, they hit a couple of threes and made every free throw, and it just got away at the end. So if that hurts us, so be it. I think we've shown that we can compete with a lot of teams. I think we went through a tough stretch and we came back just like Baylor and everybody else does. It'll be interesting to see what committees think of that. You know, do they put COVID the same place they would put injuries? COVID's worse than injuries because they last forever. And, but you know what? I really don't think, Bob, that my guys know where they're at, and they've been told where they're at, and they've been told the opportunities they have. And the pressure would come from Twitter, my favorite subject on the planet. It wouldn't come from me. It wouldn't come from my former players. It wouldn't come from my assistant coaches. It would come from the idiots out there that have no clue what's going on. And that's all I can say about that. So I hope not, but you can ask those guys that. They're available to you, I think. I appreciate it, guys. We're going to find a way to get back. Yes.
Yep. I said thanks.
Take care.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap us here today. Appreciate you guys hanging with us. We'll see you Tuesday.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Matt.
Matt.
Thanks, Matthew.